the service sector and commodities. Premier Li Keqiang has also emphasized the importance of an orderly resumption of business and the activation of the market. We will talk about compensatory consumption and the consumption potential releasing. Today, we have Director General Ha Zhengyou from the Income Distribution and Consumption Department of NDRC, Director Wang Bin from the Consumption Promotion Department of Ministry of Commerce, Director General Gao Zheng from the Industry Development Department of Ministry of Culture and Tourism, DDG Bai Jinghua from the Online Transaction Supervision Department of the State Administration for Market Regulation to take questions on compensatory consumption, releasing of consumption potential, and market orders. Some updates on the epidemic in the 24 hours of March the 17th in provinces, municipalities, cities, and the Xinjiang Production Construction Corp. New confirmed cases 13, new deaths 11. All were Hubei cases. New suspected cases 21. On the day, newly cured and discharged from hospitals 922. Those of medical observation 1,014. Severe cases were reduced by 208. As of 24 o'clock, March the 17th, according to reports from provinces, cities, and Xinjiang Production Construction Corp., remaining confirmed cases 8,056, including 2,622 severe cases. Cumulatively cured and discharged from hospitals 69,601. Cumulative deaths 3,237. Cumulatively reported confirmed cases 80,894. Remaining suspected cases 119. Cumulatively traced close contacts 68,200, 682,327. Those still under medical observation 9,222. In Hubei Province, new confirmed case 1 from Wuhan. Newly cured and discharged from hospitals 896, including 812 in Wuhan. New deaths 11, 10 in Wuhan. Remaining confirmed cases 7,795, including 7,483 were from Wuhan. Severe cases 2,580, including 2,514 from Wuhan. Cumulatively cured and discharged from hospitals 56,883, including 40,032 in Wuhan. Cumulative deaths 3,122, including 2,490 in Wuhan. Cumulatively confirmed cases 67,800, including 50,005 in Wuhan. There is no new suspected cases, no remaining suspected cases. In the 24 hours of March the 17th, newly reported imported confirmed cases 12, including 5 in Guangdong, 3 in Beijing, 3 in Shanghai, and 1 in Sichuan, respectively. As of 24 o'clock, March the 17th, cumulatively reported imported confirmed cases 155. From Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, cumulatively reported confirmed cases 257, including 167 in Hong Kong, SAR 13 in Macau, SAR and 77 in the Taiwan region. Apart from Hubei Province, in all other provinces, new confirmed cases 12, new suspected cases 21. All were imported cases. No new death. Severe cases were reduced by 6. For mainland China, there is no new locally identified and confirmed case. And apart from Hubei, apart from Wuhan. In other cities in Hubei, for the first time, there is no locally confirmed new case. According to the reports from WHO, the pandemic is now in 159 countries. We need to prevent imported cases and be engaged in international collaboration for the joint response. Now we'd like to take questions. Please ask questions on today's topic. And please identify yourself before you ask your question. First question, please, journalist from the first row on the right side. Thank you. With China Economic Herald. 23 ministries and departments, including NDRC, has issued opinions to expand consumption and improve consumption quality. What are the highlights of these notices on the implementation of the policy? What are the policy arrangements to enhance consumption? I'd like to ask DG Ha Zhengyu to take the question. Thank you for your interest and concern in NDRC's efforts. We know consumption has been dented by the epidemic. Previously, shortly before, we adopted opinions on promoting consumption expansion and improvement of quality. The reason that we've adopted these opinions was first following the deployment by the State Council and the Central Party Committee, which paid great attention to the stabilization of consumption. Since the outbreak of the epidemic, on many occasions, President Xi has emphasized the importance of compensatory consumption and the releasing of the consumption potential. And the second reason for adopting the opinions was because of the actual needs. In 2019, consumption contributed 57.8% to our GDP. For 6 consecutive years, it has been the #1 driving engine. The epidemic has brought challenges to consumption, stabilization of consumption, promotion of compensatory consumption, and the release potential are pivotal measures to revitalize the economy. In particular, as the pandemic is ballooning in the world, we should focus on the expansion of domestic consumption, nurture the domestic market. It comes at the opportune time. Given this context, and people are willing and capable to consume, we've adopted these set of opinions in 6 categories with 19 policy provisions. People are willing to consume, so from the supply side, we have 8 policy measures focusing on improving the quality of commodities and services. People dare to consume. So from the perspective of demand side, we've adopted 6 policy measures focusing on the improvement of residents' income, improve consumption infrastructure. People can and dare to consume, and we've adopted 5 measures to protect the legitimate rights of consumers by fostering honest, fair, and a safe consumption environment. A good policy is only a good start. Down the road, we'll collaborate with ministries and departments to implement the policy opinions to improve the market entities and the general public's sense of ownership. Thank you. Next question is journalist from the first row on the left side. Thank you. With Economic Daily, we know for 6 consecutive years, consumption has been the #1 driving engine of China's economic growth. What is the Ministry of Commerce comment on the epidemic's challenges for consumption? I'd like to ask Director Wang Bin to take the question.
Thank you for your interest. Since the outbreak of the COVID-19, people were confined indoors and at home, so the consumption market has been greatly affected, especially in February. According to data from the State Statistics Bureau, the consumption volume was slowed down, and there was a 28.7 percentage points slowdown. For the bulk durable consumer goods, the sales of automobiles dropped by 37%, furniture 33.5%, construction materials 30.5%, and household electronic appliances 30%. For housing, hotel, beauty salons, supermarkets, shopping malls, and etc., they see their consumer visits greatly reduced. At the same time, consumption in China also demonstrates strong resilience and new growth point. Since the epidemic, the daily necessities demands have been steady and have been on the rise, and takeaway food is on the rise too. People begin to prepare food and make meals at home. So for the food sales, it is up by 9.7% since the first quarter. Also, we have new forms of consumption, the non-contact retail, as well as other new modes of consumption are developing very fast. Artificial intelligence, work from home, internet plus healthcare plus drugstore are rising despite the epidemic. The personal protection devices and goods are also on the rise. Recently, with the situation improving, we can find the market sales has already overcome the bottom and is on the rise again. The brands, the stores, and also the delivery sectors have witnessed over 90% of the resumption rate, and the consumer goods prices are stable and also enjoy some reduction. It has been found that in the first part of March, the year-on-year rise was 5.6%. Overall, in the short run, we can see the negative impact of epidemic quite obvious, but in the longer run, it is being stabilized. And with the policies in place, in the near future, we will find the consumption recovered. During the epidemic, the consumer goods product market has ensured the steady supply, and the market has sustained the severe test posed by the COVID-19. The epidemic will not change the overall growth trend in the Chinese market. Thank you. Let's continue on the right. On the second row, the third lady reporter, please. Thank you. With Hong Kong Economic Herald. Now the situation in China is improving. People are also gaining or recovering their needs for cultural activities and traveling. So what are the policy considerations from the Ministry of Culture and Tourism in this regard? Thank you for your question. Mr. Gao, please. Indeed, as you find, as the situation in China is improving, people are gaining or recovering their needs for cultural activities and traveling. I think we can use several words to describe the overall situation. The first is to have orderly recovery. The second is to have the online consumption. And the third is effective monitoring. Let me explain or elaborate on them one by one. And the first is about the orderly recovery. In the light of the epidemic control, we have the principle that there will be differentiated and targeted measures for tourist sites, public libraries, and museums, and etc. We have already adopted or developed relevant guidelines to reopen these public cultural facilities. We are aiming to provide safe environment and venues for the general public. And second, to develop the online sector. During the epidemic, I'm sure you have felt by yourself that many of the offline cultural activities were affected. However, online, like the online reading or online music, the new modes of business and the new forms of consumption online have been cultivated and fastly developed. So with 5G and AI, as well as other new technologies, we can find the online consumption of cultural products have been prospered. And we have the 5A tourist sites online smart traveling, as well as other forms of online cultural activities. And thirdly, we are helping the relevant businesses to overcome the difficulties caused by the epidemic. As you may have already noticed, the travel agencies have been returned the guarantee fund for their business activities, and also the monetary policies are utilized to help the affected businesses. Also for tour guides, they have been provided with financial subsidies. And take Jilin province an example. The provincial tourism sector quickly signed an agreement with the central government, and it now gains access to 2 billion RMB yuan worth of financial subsidy. Furthermore, in our ministry's website, you can find a dedicated column to help the relevant businesses. You are more than welcome to watch closely the services that we have provided to the relevant businesses. Here you can find the policy advice as well as the online training to cultivate relevant businesses, and also with the press conference mechanism hosted by DG Mi. I hope you can help us to promote this information. Furthermore, in some provinces like Shandong and Zhejiang, there have been a lot of encouraging policies and measures. Thank you. Let's continue the Q&A. On the left, on the second row, the second reporter, please. Thank you. With China consumers news, we know that it has always been a challenge to defend the rights and interests of the consumers. So what are the new measures adopted by the government to help protect the rights of the consumers?
I'd like to ask the DDG by Jinghua to take the question. Thank you for your concern on the protection of legitimate rights of the consumers. it has a close bearing on the real interests of the general public. The State Administration for Market Regulation has been following President Xi, State Council, and Central Party Committee's guidance on the protection of the legitimate rights and interests of consumers. One of the substantial efforts we've made is to ensure a smooth channel to receive customer complaints and whistleblowings, to ensure each of their complaints can be addressed and responded. After the organizational reshuffling, one of the efforts of State Administration for Market Regulation was to combine the 1233, 11235, 12330, altogether 5 hotlines have been integrated to 12351 to one single hotline. By this integration, we had an aim to ensure horizontally and vertically integrated law enforcement. By taking the calls from this hotline, consumers know to file their complaints through this hotline. Also, the law enforcement agencies can take and address these questions from or complaints from the consumers during the epidemic. Prevention and control, consumers can use this hotline. Apart from this hotline, we've also set up a digital platform which can receive complaints from consumers around the clock. This digital platform also support web pages, apps, WeChat, Alipay, and the smaller apps, or other easier ways of access. Consumers can select whatever form wherever they are at whatever times, and these complaints can also be addressed by the local market supervision authorities. Localities have also explored instant messaging, in particular the video messaging, to have a remote dispute settlement. We've also been on this platform guiding businesses to become users of our platform. Consumers can discuss directly with the business operators. So from the demand and the supply side, they are connected on this platform. That's reducing the cost of rights protection. We've guided 1,600 plus businesses to come to this digital platform so as to hold business accountable, and consumption disputes can be addressed at the root with a direct discussion. Thank you for your question, journalist from the third row on the left side. Thank you. With CCTV Financial Channel, in 2009, in response to global financial crisis, Hangzhou used the vouchers to stimulate consumption. Recently, the Taiwan region has adopted similar approaches. What's your comment on the vouchers? Will Chinese localities adopt vouchers to stimulate consumption? I'd like to ask DG Ha Zhangyu to take the question. Thank you for your interest in the voucher policy. Recently, in response to the epidemic's impact on consumption, localities have adopted measures to stimulate consumption, including the promotion of vouchers by some localities. As far as we know, Nanjing, Jinan, Ningbo were cities adopted different forms of vouchers. We have been following closely the practices by localities. We've been conducting economic analysis. In general, to promote compensatory consumption and release the consumption potential, we'll focus on two things. First, guide localities to implement existing consumption expansion policies, including the 19 measures I've mentioned previously. Second, we will also support localities to tailor-make some pragmatic and factual measures that have been proven effective. Localities need to have appropriate measures to base the policies on their own budgetary situation and ensure real benefits are brought to customers. Thank you. Next question, please, journalist from the fourth row on the right side with Phoenix TV. The general public has concerns on consumption, shopping, catering, and tourism all included. They are kind of afraid that quality might be compromised. What are the approaches adopted by the Market Supervision Authority to address the concern? DDG Beijing is to take the question. Yes, indeed. That is a priority issue cared by the consumers. Also, it needs systematic, long-term, and relentless efforts. A safe consumption environment needs to be built up with the whole societal efforts. As the market supervisor over the years, we have been making intensive efforts to promote a safe and worry-free consumption environment by adopting the following measures. First, implementing the accountability system of the business owners and operators. When I was taking the questions from journalists of China Consumers newspaper, I've already touched upon this issue. The direct and the most convenient way to address the disputes is to address it at the root. So we have a system to make advance payment of compensating consumers and the offline return of goods without any reason. We know there is the wide application of online return of goods within 7 days, and the customer do not need to justify themselves. We are also approaching it, applying it in the offline environment, and also the problem needed to be addressed at the source and root. We've also been encouraging the consumers to establish some associations to protect their own rights. Before, during, and after the epidemic, this will always be one of our priority. The associations can have self-discipline and come into great effects. Second, we need to foster integrity building and trust development in consumption. We have an information disclosure system which is promoted across the country to disclose the industries, businesses where there have been frequent customer complaints. The business owners who have been complained will be disclosed on this information so that the business operators are under pressure to ensure integrity. Third, we have adopted various consumption guidance in different manifestations during the Lunar New Year, the New Year, and the May Day holiday, National Day holiday, the online shopping festivals. On occasions like this, we have strengthened the publicity on the consumer rights and interests protection laws to advocate scientific and healthy consumption habits and ensure consumers will protect their rights and interests in a reasonable way. Fourth, we've also set up an assessment system to review the quality of consumption environment. We've entrusted third party to evaluate the business operators. We've also entrusted third parties to assess and survey the satisfaction of customers. So with these 4 types of efforts, we have pursued at our best to create a safe consumption environment.
Thank you. On the right, on the third row, the first lady reporter, please. A media group from with CCTV. According to the latest data released by the State Statistics Bureau, we can see that the consumption in the first 2 months has dropped by 20%, which is a strong indicator showing the negative impact of the epidemic. So what is the next stage policy measure to encourage consumption? We will have DG Ha to answer the question. Okay. Just as the journalist has mentioned, over the past 2 months, consumption was negatively affected by the epidemic, especially in the short run. However, considering all the factors, I would say that the negative impact is temporary and is of a limited scope. In particular, with the recovery of the consumption and the business production, we will find the potential of consumption greatly released, and also the new consumption needs and the upgraded consumption needs will be tapped. In this process, we need to change the threat or the risk into opportunity. So for the next step, we will follow the central government's guidance and President Xi's guidance and bring into full play the overall arrangements. We will follow the following 6 measures. The first is to ensure the daily needs, and the second to encourage the new growth needs, and the third is to recover the consumption needs in sectors like catering. The fourth is to encourage the growing needs in nursing, and next is to release the consumption potential in the grassroots markets. Here, I would like to emphasize that it's indeed a systemic engineering project, and it needs the synergy of all the stakeholders. So the local governments are expected to ensure the recovery of the production and the business, and gradually lift the restrictions on the production so that the economy can be quickly recovered. Let's continue. On the left, on the third row, the reporter in gray jacket, please, with China review. For the epidemic, we can see that this has actually triggered the growth of the digital consumption of cultural products. So what are the measures to encourage such growth? We will have Mr. Gao to answer the question. Indeed, as you have rightly pointed out, the digital cultural and traveling products have had rapid development. They are emerging and they are growing fast despite the epidemic. They are offering more diversified online services to the general public. So the online cultural activities have been well received and also become very popular. The daily broadcasting time has been increased rapidly. You mentioned several new modes of online cultural activities. Indeed, we can see the local museums promoting the online museum visits. and many 5A tourist sites have set up their online services and online appreciation activities. So people do not need to go outdoors, and they do not need to travel outside, and they can still appreciate the beautiful scenes on the internet. The digital products have become an important cultural products. So for the next step, we are going to make efforts in the following 4 aspects. The first is to use fiscal, monetary, and other policy measures to offset the negative impact of epidemic and promote the growth of the cultural sector. And second, in light of the new trends, and we will adopt the new technologies and accelerate the structural reform in the supply side and encourage innovation. Thirdly, we will encourage the provision of the digital cultural products and develop the immersive and experimental or experience-based features of cultural products. Furthermore, we will develop the infrastructure and promote the deep fusion of the culture and economy. So we will try to create a favorable environment for the cultural sector. Okay, on the left, on the third row, the lady reporter wearing glasses, please. Thank you. With Xinhua News Agency, in the end of February, after the recovery of business in a shopping mall in Hangzhou, within 5 hours, the sales volume reached 110 billion RMB. So may I know what are the measures which will be adopted to trigger or to encourage consumption and release the potential of consumption? We will have DG Wang to answer the question. Thank you. Consumption is throughout the whole process of economic activity. It is the starting point as well as the ultimate goal of economic development. It is of critical importance to ensure the consumption needs are satisfied. The Ministry of Commerce has worked together with other relevant agencies, and following the central government's guidance, we are making every effort to encourage such compensatory consumption and contribute to the realization of our yearly targets. For the moment and for the coming months, we will focus on the following aspects. First, to accelerate the resumption of business. The early resumption of business is the prerequisite for consumption. At the moment, we can find the trend is positive. However, for the shopping malls, the department stores, and also shops, we can see the customer volume is still not as large as we have expected. So the Ministry of Commerce is going to help the enterprises or businesses who are still find it difficult to recover their business, and we will help them to minimize the loss caused by the epidemic. And second, we will focus on the key consumption needs. The State Council has already worked out a policy document, and we will work with the relevant agencies to focus on the key consumption sectors like the automobiles and the household electronic appliances.
We will shift the automobile consumption policies to some incentivized consumption the replacement of the old with the new, and other incentive vouchers. We will also guide homemaking industry and other service sectors. On top of epidemic prevention control efforts, they can go to communities, innovate service models, and provide services to the community residents, enhance the consumption quality, thus expand the supply and improve the quality of supply. Fourth, promote city consumptions by accelerating the establishment of pedestrian shopping malls. We will start with the second batch of pedestrian shopping mall area innovation, and organize the retailers to open business as quickly as possible to attract more consumers and move out of the somber mood, and establish a shopping ecosystem around the communities, in particular the vegetable and food markets. Improve the terminal consumption, establish the backbone of distribution for agricultural produce, foster a new type of agricultural produce supply chain, leverage the e-commerce platform, guide agricultural producers to collaborate with the poverty-stricken area, and connect supply with demand. 6. Foster new forms of business, in particular the e-commerce business platforms, to innovate their business forms, digitalize real economies, promote the integration of online and offline businesses, innovate business forms, new consumption scenarios, and apply those scenarios. The metropolitans can be the first batch of cities to promote such innovation. In response to the epidemic, many enterprises have delivered contactless services and designated place commodity collection at communities, and these innovative business forms have been welcomed by consumers. We guide localities to have a phased, tiered approach by setting up some consumption festivals, encourage well-conditioned localities and businesses, and the principle of fair openness and transparency for targeted audience groups, and in targeted industries, vouchers can be used to stimulate consumption. There are also activities leveraging the financial budgets, but these activities must follow the relevant national laws and regulations. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the fourth row on the left side. China Reform newspaper and Reform Network with .com. We've noticed that online shopping has been improving over the epidemic course. Some believe this epidemic will exert a major impact on the business forms. Will authorities support online consumption? I'd like to ask DG Han Zhengyu from NDRC to take the question. Yes, as you have pointed out, new business forms have been emerging over the years. In 2019, online retail consumption volume reached 1.6 trillion RMB, an increase of 16.5% over 2018. And during the epidemic response, online shopping, online services have shown a great momentum of thriving. New business forms will become the new driving engine for China's economic growth. Down the road, to nurture the new business forms, we will focus on 4 areas. First, we will accelerate 5G network and data center-based new generation information infrastructure development to promote the full coverage. Second, we will encourage online-offline integrated consumption forms, promote traditional businesses to get online and upgraded. Third, we encourage the use of environmental-friendly materials to form a healthy lifestyle. Fourth, inclusive and prudent supervision will be used to promote the emerging forms of new consumption. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the fourth row on the left side. With China Media Group, CNR. As the global confirmed cases have been on the rise, imported case risks are mounting. There are also some confirmed imported cases. So what are the management measures by Ministry of Culture and Tourism for outbound travel? Thank you for your question. DG Gao Zheng is answering the question. Since the outbreak of the epidemic, to curb the spread of the epidemic, on 24th of January, Ministry of Culture and Tourism issued an urgency notice to suspend tourist agencies' tour groups. And the group tours plus flights and hotels. So there has been some stagnation. Currently, the prevention of imported cases has become the top priority. We will collaborate with other departments under the joint task force, watch closely the pandemic in overseas countries, have a timely communication with tourist agencies, adopt necessary measures to rein in the cross-border transmission. Yesterday, Ministry of Culture and Tourism issued some alerts on highly risky countries. We remind Chinese tourists to enhance their awareness, give a full assessment to the infection risk of outbound travel, and suspend their travel plans to some highly risky countries and regions. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the second row of the right side. Thank you. With cover news. Community economy has become a buzzword recently. In particular, during the epidemic response, the community economy has played an important role in maintaining economic growth. What will be Ministry of Commerce stand for the promotion of community economy and community commerce? Director Wang Bin is taking the question. Community economy has a close bearing with the livelihood of the people. In 2019, Ministry of Commerce has issued the number 42 decree, putting it forward measures to optimize community commercial development for 2 consecutive years. The Ministry of Commerce has included it into our consumption upgrading plan. Authorities of commerce at various localities have adopted 4 measures to promote community commerce development. At the end of last year, in collaboration with 13 other ministries and departments, Ministry of Commerce have issued a document to optimize the outlets of convenience stores at communities, boost the branding of community convenience stores. In 2019, the new outlets established by franchised community stores have exceeded 12,000. Package of policies have been adopted by localities. For example, Beijing has provided physical support to deploy the convenience stores. Within 3 years, 6,400 convenience stores have been established within 3 years, covering all communities. Second, we've supported the agricultural markets development by promoting cold chain services. The agricultural trade markets, vegetable markets, and the fresh wet markets development. We've been standardizing the wet market operation in 2019. Across the localities, the renovated wet markets numbered 140 plus, 1.4 million plus. Third, we promoted the development of community residence convenience centers integrating catering, homemaking, express delivery, maintenance of household appliances, and beauty salons. In 2019, 200 plus integrated community service centers have been established. The medium-level shopping malls have also been transmitted to such service centers.
They can also be transferred as the neighborhood service centers, providing various convenience services for the neighborhood. Also, fourthly, to innovate the community-based services. The communities are encouraged to adopt the new technologies and the convenience technologies like the online shopping, and we have promoted the integration of the online service and the community-based services. The non-contact product delivery has been cultivated. So now we have the various brands and online transaction platforms, as well as innovative approaches. Since the outbreak of the epidemic, especially in Wuhan, the number of online service providers have been increased from a dozen to more than 40, playing a great role helping the local people. Let's continue on the right, on the fifth row, with China.net. The COVID-19 has affected greatly the traveling or the tourism sector. So what are the measures adopted by your ministry to encourage the business resumption? We will have DG Gao to answer the question. Thank you. We know that enterprises or businesses are major players in the market. Whether we can expand the market, the answer is held by the enterprises in this sector. In order to help the businesses in the sector, we've done 3 major measures. First, we issued a policy circular, which is to request the local authorities to return the guarantee fund to the traveling agencies for their business, and also to stabilize the tourist guides. So just now I used the example of Jilin and the local provincial People's Bank. And also in our website, we have a dedicated column to provide relevant training materials and also the documents and online courses for the local traveling sector to nurture and recover their businesses. Secondly, we follow closely the latest developments in the tourism sector and have made constant communication with the relevant government agencies to attract support and assistance. It is fair to say that in various policy aspects, we can see that they are trying to create a synergy to help the traveling sector. Thirdly, recently, the ministry has made arrangements for the local traveling sector to recover their business, and relevant activities are being encouraged to resume. Due to the time constraint, we can only allow 2 more questions. Please, on the left, on the 5th row, the 3rd reporter, please. Thank you. With the Xinmin Evening News, with the recovery of the businesses, we can find the tourist sites are opening. Then what about the reopening rate, and how to recover the daily operation of those sites? We will continue to have DG Gao to answer the question. Thank you for your question. The ministry is following the central government's instruction and accelerating the recovery and resumption of operation in these tourist sites. First, led by the local governments, by yesterday, across the country, 3,714 cultural destinations, or especially the scenery spots, have resumed their operation. Most of them are outdoor scenic spots, and they are operating smoothly. There have not been any abnormalities. The ministry is constantly emphasizing the epidemic containment while reopening the tourist destinations. We try to avoid the once-for-all solution. Instead, we advocated the differentiated and well-targeted measures to promote the low and medium risk sites to reopen the operation on the basis of sound control of the epidemic. Furthermore, we have developed and implemented the technical guidelines and requested the local stakeholders to get well prepared for any potential spread of the epidemic. Thirdly, we have strengthened the specific targeted guidance. How we try to reduce the risk and improve the work efficiency. The second major measure is the resumption or reopening of the museums. By mid-March, 19 provinces and autonomous regions have had their museums reopened. The reopened museums numbered over 180. Many of them are provincial museums, and they have followed the guidance of the central government and have adopted the online reservation system to take in the visitors. Also, for some museums, like the ones in Shanghai, Beijing, and etc., they have also adopted stringent epidemic control measures to ensure the smooth operation. Thank you. One last question. On the right, on the 5th row, the gentleman, please, with Shenzhen Satellite TV. It was reported that previously, as affected by the epidemic, and the agricultural products cannot be transported to the markets. So what are the policy measures adopted to remove this obstacle, and what are the results? We will have DG Wang to answer the question. Thank you for your question. Indeed, after the epidemic outbreak, in the early days of the epidemic, due to various reasons, in some localities, vegetables, fruits, the agricultural products, and other sideline agricultural products found it difficult to get access to the market.
But today, I can assure you that after efforts made by the Ministry of Commerce and other departments in general, apart from Hubei province, recently in localities across the country, there has been major alleviation to this issue. And there are manifestations in the four aspects. First, efforts have been made to connect the supply with demand. We have an online information collection and a reporting system. We mobilized the fresh markets, supermarkets, shopping malls, the shopping complex to connect directly with the producers to expand their channels to market. As of 17th of March on this platform, altogether there had been 5,000